Hey nerds, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another episode of Rouge, the series on my channel where I simultaneously do my makeup and do a book review. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me by who? Jameson Shea. Yeah, this book is very interesting, I will say. But before we get into this, I would just like to thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Now let's get into this. Okay, I'm gonna read the book jacket for the little synopsis. We ready? Come on, kids. Soon I'd be a name no one would forget. A raging fire they couldn't escape. Laura has always danced in the cutthroat world of ballet at a disadvantage. Tired of being overlooked, she ventures deep into the Paris catacombs, where she finds a pulsing blood river that offers her everything she's dreamed of and worked toward. Power and awe. With it, she takes her place above her peers, but soon she cannot distinguish her own lust for more with the primordial presence in her veins. Laura quickly learns she's not the only monster around and her vicious desires put a target on her back. As she descends into godhood in the mystifying underworld below, she is faced with the ultimate choice. Continue to break herself for a world that doesn't love her back, or succumb to the darkness that wants her exactly as she is, monstrous heart and all. That is, if the god killer doesn't catch her first. So, by that, you can tell we're about to get into some shit. And I don't know if y'all remember, but this was on one of my hauls I did in the past. I got this at Half Price Books last year. And this sounded like a time, and I was right. So let's go over the plot. I want to make it clear that since this story takes place in Paris, there's a lot of Parisian language that I cannot pronounce, so I do not mean to butcher by any means. If I say something wrong, I am so sorry. Alright, so starting with chapter 1, we're introduced to our main character, Laure. It's short for Lawrence. I think that's really cute. She is a black ballerina who goes to the Ballet Academy of Paris, and she's in the hall with her peers waiting to audition for a production that the ballet company is putting on, so it's a show. And this is the last show before they graduate, and it's called Giselle. So while they're waiting, they're watching the new prodigy dance through the windows, and her name is Josephine. Josephine is a young ballerina that rose through the ranks really fast, and there are rumors going around about her because how did she rise through the ranks this fast? She's not that good. So people are making rumors talking about she's a witch, or she slept with the president, or she slept with the director, all types of stuff, right? And we also meet Laure's best friend, Coralie. Spoiler alert, y'all are going to hate Coralie, because I hate Coralie. Oh, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself, but Coralie is... No, we're not Team Coralie ever at all over here. So Coralie is also a student here at the ballet, and Coralie's mom, her name is Rosemary. She's on the board of directors for the school, so she's kind of like a nepo baby. There is no kind of. She is literally a nepo baby, because her mom back in her prime, back in her day, she was like the best dancer there was or something, and now Coralie is trying to live to her name, and Coralie, she ain't got it like that. She's very mediocre. So she's a mediocre nepo baby. We've seen that before. So the auditions begin with an evaluation, and it's literally what it says it is. You know, the directors and instructors are like literally evaluating all the dancers, and they are getting ripped apart. And by this first chapter, we already get a glimpse of how cutthroat the industry is. And let me tell you something, I could not be a ballerina. I couldn't. I could not. So kudos to those of you who are, because oh no, I can't. And when Laura is evaluated, she gets the critique up on her shoulders being too wide and saying that she's too uptight. Mind y'all, I want to make this very clear if I didn't say this already and you didn't see the cover, Laura is black. That is very important. It is important to the story. Laura is black. Okay, moving on. And also, Laura tells us that she has had to work harder than everyone else around her because of her being black and having different features and being at a disadvantage altogether. So, yes. Alright, it's time for auditions, and Coralie goes first. She's not as polished as the other dancers. Like I said before, she's very mediocre, and she's only still in the academy because of her mom. That's literally the only reason. Everybody hating and, you know, talking shit it while she's dancing, but Laura shuts that down real quick because she's a true friend. She's a real friend. She ain't letting that slide, okay? Even if it is true that her friend is very not good. Because she can't help but point out Coralie's flaws too, but she keeps that to herself like a good person. So it's Laura's turn to audition now, and she dances her ass off. She dances to the death of her. I know nothing about ballet, but reading this excerpt, it sounded like she gave her all, okay? And all I know about ballet is that it is one of the hardest art forms to do. That's all I know. And after she's done, she feels satisfied enough with her performance. She feels like she did okay. After she's done, the president of the dance company calls her back. Her name is is it Auger? I'm assuming it's Auger because this is France. It's spelled A-U-G-E-R. I'm just gonna say it's President Auger. She's an older woman. She's a president of the ballet company. Whoop-de-whoop. So President Auger tells Laura that she got the lead role in Giselle, and this is like a very huge deal. This news turns Laura on her head because this is what she's been working so hard for her entire life. She never let herself slip up so she can be taken seriously by the people in the academy, and it paid off. Like I said, working harder than everybody else at all times. Coralie celebrates her good news. She's happy for her friend, so that's good. This isn't public news yet, so by Coralie's very loud celebration, the others in the other dancers in the dance company, they kind of put two and two together and figure out that Laura has the lead. And Coralie invites Laura to hang out with her and the other dancers. Now, Coralie is Laura's only friend, okay? Because everybody in the dance company is fake as f, and they're racist as f too. And so when they found out that Laura got the lead, they were, you know, all sticking their noses up and like I guess she's not that good. You know, they was just hating. They've been hating since day one. So when Coralie invites Laura to like go hang out with her and all of them, she's like, I don't know about all that. I don't know. She's like, come on, this is like a happy time. Come hang out, it'll be fun. She's like, all right, fine, whatever. And the others don't want her there because they jealous. Like, stop hating is my thing. Just stop hating and stuff. That's all you got to do. So they go and they hang out and everyone's talking about their future plans. Like, oh, I'm probably gonna travel the world. Mind you, this is another thing. Everybody like in the company, like dancers, you know, people like that, they are like filthy rich. You know, they're very rich. And Laura is like the only one who's poor. So she really doesn't have that much in common with them. So they get to talk about their future plans and stuff. And Laura, they ask Laura, like, hey Laura, what are your future plans after you graduate? Da, 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 da. And she gets a little too comfortable and she slips up and she's like, you know, without ballet, I wouldn't have anything. I'd be dead. And she kind of kills the vibe. And everyone's like, oh, okay. Like, that's cool. That's sweet, I guess. And like I said, Laura's the only one that doesn't come from money or fame. So this school is literally all she has. All right, chapter 3, we get a time jump and we are now 3 months later and this is the final performance of Giselle. We get a glimpse inside Laura's mind and how she's feeling. Her self-saboteur is her worst critic and she's overthinking everything at this point. She's like, I don't know if I'm good enough. Like, why me? Why they choose me? Girl, you danced your ass off for 12 years of your life. Like, you deserve this. And all of that is put to rest when she bows for the audience and she revels in the feeling because she danced her dance and she did what she had to do. She compared the feeling to being the audience's god. Like the energy and the applause from the audience just kind of gave her that high. So she's like, I feel like I'm a god right now. I feel like they're worshiping me. I'm like, I get it. Being, especially when you're the lead role and like you have that final bow and people are cheering your name, you start feeling yourself a little bit. And I'm like, I get it. I do. I get it a lot. So after the curtains close, Laura leaves with the cast and she sees all the family and friends, you know, waiting to congratulate the other dancers. We are then told that Laura has no one that supports her art because it's been that way since she was a child. We also learn that possibly her mother doesn't come to support her because of jealousy. Maybe her mom wasn't that good in the arts and then she found out her daughter had a talent for dance and, you know, etc., etc. Her parents aren't around. They haven't been for a very long time. And I felt for her at this point in time. You know, she's seeing all these people get congratulated by their families and stuff. And here she is by her lonesome and everything like that. And I felt so like sad because showing up for your kids is important no matter what age it is. Showing up in general, whether it's like your friend or your boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, baby sister, baby cousin, showing up is so important. She has a moment to herself, you know, where she tries really hard to pat herself on the back. And I'm like, girl, I know you sad, but like you just did this amazing thing. You did an amazing thing, baby. Like, it's gonna be okay. Give yourself some credit, baby. Chapter 4. Oh my f***ing gosh. So Laura is trying to leave the damn, what's it called? She's trying to leave the theater, right? And she's caught by Coralie and her parents. So Rosemary is showing off Laura to her husband's colleague like she's some kind of f***ing collectible. And the microaggressions and racist undertones like that by itself, it just pissed me off immediately. And Rosemary and the colleagues are throwing hella microaggressions towards Laura. And you know what Laura does to like kind of get back at them for hurling all these microaggressions toward her? She pickpockets. She steals one of the colleagues' watches right out of their pocket and they have no idea. So she finally gets outside and she hears someone from the board talking shit. He basically tells Laura that it was a distraction seeing her as the lead because she's black and everybody else was like stark white. And then he goes on to tell Laura that she could never be in Swan Lake because she'll stand out. And then he suggests that she dance in ballets that have lots of people of color in it. And long story short, he tells Laura that she doesn't belong in the Ballet Academy of Paris because she's black, and despite her being one of the best dancers, not even that, she is the best dancer in the company, and just being hella racist. And humiliated to all hell, Laura runs away because I would too. Like, what do you do in that moment? You can't swing on, I mean you can, but you know, you're gonna go to jail. But like, you can't swing on them, and then she really can't say anything because they're the board. And you know, it's all of their words against her. So what do you do in that moment? And now I'm understanding why Laura's so hard on herself, and it's because of motherfuckers like this. It had me heated, as you can tell, so I'm gonna just calm myself down, okay? To be this openly racist and prejudiced at this day and age, this is taking place in, you know, modern times, like, you know, current time, and I'm just like, y'all are bold to be this racist, like right here, right now. Like, what is wrong with y'all? Like, all of her talent doesn't matter because she's black. Like, they can't get past that. I'm like, ugh. Chapter 5, and Laura's been practicing for hours for this upcoming audition. There's another show going on at the, their Corner. And she pushes herself so hard that she ends up falling and hurting herself, like, pretty bad. She's beaten down, she's broken, especially after the racist comments that she got from the board. And she's being extra hard on herself, like more than usual. So Josephine, remember I talked about her earlier, she appears, and it turns out she's been watching Laura. And she comforts her by telling Laura that, you know, I was in this position at one point too, so I totally get it. I see you, I see where you are right now, and it's gonna be okay. And after helping Laura out, helping her get up, she's like, hey, come to dinner with me, let's hang out. And of course she wants to rub elbows with the latest prima ballerina, so Laura accepts. And Laura's having this why me moment. She's such a goddess, like, you know, why would she want to hang out with me? I'm like, girl, just go to the dinner with her. So they go to this restaurant and Laura watches as Josephine charms the staff, and she is reveling in her influence. And I gotta be honest, I don't really care for how pathetic Laura is acting right now. Like, yes, I get it, you're starstruck by Josephine, you look up to her, she's this big star, but you're acting as if you're not worthy to sit with her, girl, as if y'all don't come from the same academy. Get your life. Like, tighten up, tighten up. Like I said before, Josephine was charming the entire wait staff. Like, they just kind of catered to her everywhere. I'm like, yes, Josephine, anything you say, Josephine. And then Laura is wondering, you know, is this like your everyday life? Like, you just get waited on, hand and foot like a princess? And then Josephine leans in and she's like, do you trust me? And Laura's like, What? What? Josephine's like, do you trust me? Because you can have it all. So chapter 6, and this is where it starts to start. Things start starting. So Josephine takes Laura into the Paris catacombs. Yep, where it's happening this soon. And she comes to this pool of blood. Well, it's more like a blood river, like the synopsis said. And this is where all her dreams will come true. She just take a dive. Basically, it's kind of like some witchcraft shit, or that's what I thought when I was first reading this. But then I learned it's so much more than that. It's not even witchcraft, to be honest with you. The blood river asks you what you want. You sacrifice blood to receive whatever it is. So, yeah. And this blood river, this being, is named Acheron. So, Laura makes a small sacrifice. She gives Acheron some blood. Okay, Acheron gives her a 3-day trial to test the fruits of her sacrifice. Okay, see how she likes it. And so after she made her sacrifice, you know, by slicing her hand open, she got too close for comfort and she fell into the river, right? And so the blood river, Acheron, swallows her whole, and now she's like in this alternate dimension where everything is red. It kind of gave upside down vibes. And Laura is saved from drowning by this creature seemingly composed of only nightmares. But when she takes another look, she sees that she knows this person. This was a boy that was at the auditions on the side with Josephine's boyfriend, Ciro. Is it Cairo? Ciro? I'm gonna call him Ciro. And he was there because he's friends with Ciro. His name is Andor, but we'll get to his introduction later. Anyway, Andor saves her. Turns out this boy, Andor, Josephine, and Ciro, Ciro is a board member. That's why he's important, and that's why they were there at the auditions, because he's dating Josephine and he's a board member. You get it? Got it? Good. Okay. So they're all here because they know about the river, okay? They know everything about the river. So Ciro is pissed because he's like, why did you bring her here? You know, you're not supposed to be bringing people here, It's supposed to be a secret and all that stuff. He's like, you never should have involved her. This is supposed to be like, no one's supposed to know about this. And Laura's out of it because she almost drowned. She thought she saw a monster, but then she didn't. And she's confused, so she's like out of it. She's not really knowing what's going on. So Josephine takes Laura home, and when she gets upstairs, she notices that the scar on her hand where she made her sacrifice is gone. The benefits are starting to be reaped as we speak. Everybody get hyped, get excited. Everybody better be jumping. Alright, chapter 7, and Laura wakes up the next day wondering what happened and trying to see if it was a dream. She realized it wasn't when she saw a tattoo in red ink on the inside of her wrist, and Josephine has this same tattoo on her wrist as well. And if you haven't put 2 and 2 together, you know, Josephine also sacrificed something to the blood river. That's why she's so good, and that's why she has like this very charming personality about her. She has, that's her kind of power, her gift, you could say. Whenever you make a deal with Acheron, you get like a red mark, some kind of red tattoo on the inside of your wrist. Everyone has one that has made a sacrifice. So today is the audition for this new show at the company. Laura is wondering if this new power is going to work for her. Coralie notices that Laura's acting weird, but Laura's like, girl, whatever, we got things to do. I got things to do. Let's not worry about that right now. So when she gets to the theater and sees Josephine, Laura wants an explanation like ASAP. She's like, what happened to me last night? What did you do? And Josephine says she'll explain, but you know, it'll have to be later because you know, they in public and stuff. She's like, I will tell you everything you want to know, but just give me a minute. Let's talk about it later. It's time for Laura to dance, and she figures out how to use her newfound power, and she tests it out on one of the judges. She makes them watch her every move as she dances. Like, she makes them like literally zero in on her using her new gift, and they ain't blinking, they just sitting there watching. Staring, you know. And at the end of the auditions, Laura notices that Josephine and Ciro are arguing with President Auger, and then Josephine storms off. She mad. Then President Auger and Ciro, they get into a heated argument until he whispers something in her ear to, like, you know, make her storm off too. Chapter 8, and it's the next day, and everybody is waiting for audition results. They're trying to see what's going on. And Laura is extremely nervous because she's wondering if the power actually worked in her favor. And she's like, you know, is this something real? Is it tangible? Can I use this to my advantage and not just, you know, for this type of thing? Because this is riding on her getting an apprenticeship, and that's a big deal. Like right out of ballet school, an apprenticeship is like the next step for you. So the results come in, and it is revealed that Laura has gained the apprenticeship. Woo woo. And she will now be a dancer in the company full time. Now, as you can imagine, Laura, she's on cloud 9 right now. She's having the time of her life. And that is until she sees Coralie. Literally everyone got an apprenticeship except Coralie, because she ain't all that. She's like meh at best. And that came back to bite her in the ass. You know, mommy on the board didn't help her this time because she just didn't have that zoo. And Coralie's pissed that she didn't get an apprenticeship. And you know what she says to Laura after Laura tries to comfort her? You know what she says? This girl looks at Laura, she goes, I guess they'll take anybody. Bitch! First, what do you mean by that? Like, you're my best friend and you're gonna say that to my face right now? And in the book, it says that Laura doesn't know if she was talking about her, like, alone or everybody in general. And it pissed me off. And I'm like, Coralie, you literally have all the resources in the damn world. Like, your mom's status as a former prima ballerina and the fact that your mother is on the board of directors, like, you just can't help that you suck. Like, you suck. And the fact that you have been skating by with mediocrity for years, it's because of your nepotism. And you're mad because it finally bit you in the ass, and now you want to throw a temper tantrum. Coralie, please. And then we see like Laura's inner monologue, and she's conflicted because she has worked her entire life, you know, to get to this point. And Coralie ain't never had to struggle for nothing. So she's like, sucks to suck. So after getting this good news, we find out that one of the other top dancers in the company, she has been injured. And this was the dancer that Josephine dethroned when it was her time for the comeuppance. And just a quick nod to remind us that there will always be someone waiting to take our spot, waiting to dethrone us too. Later that night, Rosemarie, Coralie's mom, takes Laura and Coralie out on a celebratory dinner. Because, you know, happy day, happy news, whatever. And this dinner was planned in advance for Coralie's celebration because she thought that Coralie was going to get an apprenticeship. But they went on this dinner anyway to celebrate Laura's victory. So they were like, you might as well go. And then the whole time, Rosemarie is just degrading Coralie like it's nothing, you know? The whole time she's just pointing out her flaws and excuses. And Coralie's dad isn't really paying attention. He really don't care. He's just there. Laura discovers that the power doesn't just stop, you know, with her dancing. She can use it literally anywhere. So she uses her powers to make Rosemarie apologize to Coralie. And then she also makes both parents apologize to her because they've been talking, you know, they've been throwing jabs at her all night. So they get dropped off at their little apartment, and guess who's there? Laura's father. He's waiting for her on the doorstep. And he's wanting to give her some things that she left behind. And this takes Laura aback because she hasn't seen her dad in 6 years. She hasn't seen him since she ran away from home. He tries to small talk, but Laura ain't trying to hear all that. She's like, I've been fine all the time without you. I do not need you now, so please go home. Chapter 9, and Laura goes back to the cave after her 3-day trial, and she wants more time. She's getting used to this newfound power. So this time, Acheron gives her 3 months in exchange for worshiping at their altar. So at this point, Laura's desperate to, you know, get that feeling again, and she's willing to give Acheron all that she's got at this point. She's so desperate, instead of cutting one hand like she did last time, she cuts both. This time, for the transformation, she starts levitating on like some Reagan Blair type shit. It's a little unsettling. So after the ritual is finished, she heads over to Josephine's place so they can finally talk and she can get some answers. And we also find out that Josephine has been absent from practice for a couple days, so she's also wanting to check on her and make sure she's okay. So she gets to Josephine's apartment and she finds the door is unlocked. So she's looking for Josephine when she finds her dead, decaying body on the floor of her bedroom. We're going fast already. Like, she's all twisted up, like her limbs are twisted very strangely, and her tattoo, the mark of Acheron, it was burned off. Like, it was just like totally crispy, fried, barbecued from her skin. Like, it's not there no more. And so Laura starts to call 911 and she hears someone breaking into the apartment, so she hides in a closet. So she realizes that Josephine may have the answers on her phone. So before the intruder makes it to the bedroom, she steps out real quick and grabs her phone off of the dresser. And the intruder comes in there, right? And he's rummaging around in the bedroom until they hear the sirens and they like leave out the back door or something like that. So after the police come, Laura talks to them and then she goes home. And right after, to wash off the events of what just happened, she starts to look through Josephine's phone and she's finding some things. She sees a folder amongst the apps, right? And she opens it and she finds that Josephine has been reading up on things like astral planes, Sumerian myths, the Big Bang Theory, a lot of stuff that's like out there, you know? And so Josephine went down a rabbit hole and she has videos and pictures and voice memos, all that stuff. And Laura finds a video in this folder and it's of the boy from the auditions, the one that was with Cyro and Josephine. This is Andor. This is the one who saved her. His name is Andor. Andor. Let's go with Andor. And she sees right before her eyes on this video of him changing, shape-shifting into a monster. So when she saw that, when he saved her from drowning, she wasn't dreaming. She wasn't hallucinating. He actually has the ability to shape-shift into a monster with like antlers and stuff and 4 eyes. So Laura's like, okay, maybe I can get some answers from whatever's in this folder. So she starts binging all the photos, videos, and, you know, voice memos that she left behind, that Josephine left behind. So chapter 10, and it's the next day, and Laura's waiting for the other shoe to drop on the announcement of Josephine's death. She hears everyone making up rumors and passing them around and stuff. Now listen, I have never in my life been in the ballet world. I've never been a ballerina dancer, okay? From what I've seen in the media and also in this book now, is it really this cutthroat? Like, is this really how it is? Do bitches really be jealous and messy like this in the ballet world? Is this what it's like? Is it really do or die? If you're a ballet dancer, please let me know, because this is like, I'm starting to see this repeat in different like forms of media. Anyway, Laura's still freaking out about who or what killed Josephine because she has this weird experience where the light will swallow her whole or something, and when she's trying to escape it, she runs into Cyro. And she's questioning him about the argument from the other day with him, Josephine, and President Auger. She's like, what's going on? I know you know something. What's happening? He claims that she gave some of Josephine's roles to someone else and that pissed her off. And we also learned that Josephine had been blackmailing the president to keep certain roles in her pocket. But we don't know for sure because Laura thinks Cyro is lying. She thinks he's an op. The police finally show up alongside President Auger, and it's time for the other shoe to drop. So after the police show up, Cyro, he hands Laura this note, and it says, "Through the tunnels, past the red cave, iron door on the left, Elysium." And that's all it says, and then he just disappears into the night. And President Auger delivers the news about Josephine, you know, that she has passed on. And literally, no one gives a fuck but Laura. Like, no one is shedding tears. They're not even saying like, damn, that's crazy. They don't care. They don't care for real. And the only one who does care is Laura. And she's looking at everybody like, where is y'all's humanity? Alright, chapter 11, and we see Laura getting ready for a party that precedes the premiere of Cinderella. There's that new show that they're working on. And I forgot to mention this too. So, being that Josephine is dead, she is being replaced by this girl named Sabine. Sabine, it's French. I don't know how to, Sabine, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm so sorry. This girl, Sabine, I don't know. Sabine is the girl who is going to be replacing Josephine because she's dead. So now Sabine will be Cinderella. And they're at this party, and Coralie is still complaining and whining about the apprenticeship, and she's like, if anyone should be there, it's me. As if she's actually deserving of it. And also saying this loud and proud as if her best friend is not standing right next to her. And at this point, she was really starting to piss me off because how dare you? How dare you? You are literally a mediocre ballerina. Like, you do not deserve. You do not deserve. And Laura has always been there for her, supported her through everything, especially when her mom is treating her like shit. She's been there for her like a good friend is supposed to be. But when it's time for you to support your friend, you can't do that. Like, you be acting fake. Like, what? And the crazy part is, you know what the crazy part about all of this is? Laura still feels bad for her. I'm like, if you don't, I don't know. I can't, and I won't. And then Coralie backtracks and she goes, but you totally deserve it, you know, you have it so easy. If anyone has it easy, it's you. And I'm like, easy? What do you mean? She's the only black dancer. She's the only black ballerina in the company. And she came from nothing and worked her way up, and you want to say that she has it easy. Like, how ignorant can you be? Coralie sees the tattoo on Laura's wrist and she's suspicious about it. But Laura's like, you know what, it's nothing, it's fine, like whatever, don't worry about it, I'm like, no business. So they're at this party and Coralie just keeps taking like shots. They're not even like subliminal shots, so she's just outright talking shit, right? And Laura gets a compliment from someone and Coralie has to swoop in and steal her thunder, and she takes jabs at Coralie takes jabs at Laura for pickpocketing, because, you know, she's like, how else did you afford that dress? Trying to expose her and stuff. And I'm like, Coralie, I swear on my everything, fake as f. So Laura uses her power, her gift, to make everybody focus on her. She's like, all eyes on me, no Tupac. And she goes a little too far. She makes people pee themselves. She makes people dance. Oh, funny. Oh God. So she overextends herself a little bit with this power and her nose starts to bleed. She steps away to collect herself for a little bit and she runs into Andor. He tells her that he and Cyro have been watching her and that she needs to be careful with how she's using her power. And here comes Cyro acting all cocky and stuff, right? And Laura clocks his tea about Josephine. She's like, listen, I know that something ain't right, so what's going on? So Cyro explains that the reason Josephine took her to Acheron, the Blood River, is because he wants to make more people like them. More people like Josephine himself and Andor. And we found out that Andor is a very talented painter. And Laura uses her power on him, puts him in his place, and he don't like that. Cyro don't like that. He breaks out of the hold, and before he can retaliate, they're swarmed by all the partygoers to go see this show. So it's chapter 12 now, and y'all remember when Cyro gave Josephine that note? Yeah, so she's going to this place called Elysium. Turns out Elysium is this alternate universe. It's an alternate universe, honey. Y'all remember when she got swallowed by the river and she saw this alternate universe that was just covered in red? That's what Elysium is. This is the dimension where the blood god originates from, okay? There's a twin god there too. There's another god that kind of exists in the realm. So you know how Acheron is like a sentient blood river god thing? There's another one just like it, but it's white, and it's called Letha, I don't know. I'm gonna call it Leave. That's what I'm gonna call it, because I don't know how it's pronounced. It's the twin god to that, but it's white instead of red. So Laura meets Andor there in Elysium, and she's still trying to get some answers on what happened to Josephine. And even Andor and Cyro don't know. Like, they don't even know what happened to Josephine. So Andor explains to Laura that, you know, when you make a sacrifice to Acheron, you receive different gifts. Like, you know, whatever you want to have power in or through, that's what you get. So Andor has 4 different gifts, you know, his art and his beauty, and then I guess Laura's gift is compulsion or control. So Andor warns her that there are consequences, because when he asks for beauty, he asks for them to be the most beautiful thing in the world. he got a consequence, and that consequence was him being able to shapeshift into a monster. So you have to be careful what you wish for, literally. So they go down to the river, and Andor asks Laura to use her power on him. So Laura makes him kneel like with her powers, and he fought it the same way that Syro did. And she asks why they are the only ones who can fight her compulsion. And he says it's because they're both immortal in a sense. Like, you know, we can fight it. So we have a little bit more power, so that's why we can do the things that we do. And at this point in the book, I'm starting to think that Andor has a crush on Laura because he's always so kind and reassuring, and he's also a huge flirt when it comes to her. So, and also when he asked Laura to use her powers on him, he was begging. Like, he was begging. He was like, oh, please do it. And I was like, oh. I was like, what's going on? I was like, what's going on? And when she made him kneel, he liked it. So they finally find Syro. He comes back, and he has this girl with him. This tall black girl with like a neon yellow afro. Her name is Katora. Black British beauty, if you will. And this is upsetting Andor. He's like, bro, what did I tell you about doing it? Like, why are we adding more people to the clique? And then Syro is trying to explain that, well, Acheron said that they, whatever they identify as, he wanted another. Meanwhile, Laura's wondering what is her part in all this because she's still trying to figure out what or who killed Josephine, and she ain't got no answer on that yet. Chapter 13, and it's the next day. Laura's at rehearsal, and she's using her powers to be put in the front line of the dance number. The same people who were talking shit about her before are still talking shit. They have nothing better to do. And Laura hears everything. So she comes up to them, and they're shook. She heard all of it because she was like right around the corner and stuff. She's like, what's up? But she chooses at that moment to take the high road, and she turns back around. She keeps walking. She's like, you know what? You're not worth my time. I'm just gonna leave. Good on you. And that was until she heard them laughing and talking shit about her again. So she turns around and she makes one of the girls like tumble down the stairs. And so as she's watching this girl writhe in pain, she catches a glimpse of herself in the wall, like the reflection of the wall, and she sees that her reflection is not herself, but instead it is a monster. And it's very similar looking to the monster form that Andor has when he transforms. Chapter 14, and this is like right after what happened with the girl falling down the stairs and stuff. And Laura goes to the front office, and she compels the secretary to give her like a $100,000 advance or something. No, it's $1,000 raise, excuse me, $1,000 raise, not $100,000. She runs into President Auger, and she's hurling microaggressions as usual because she's a racist bigot. And then she tells Laura to be mindful or she'll end up just like Josephine. So this is kind of getting the wheels turning in Laura's head. Like, does she know about Josephine? Does she know about me? After she leaves the theater, she finds Coralie moping around outside, you know, just feeling sorry for herself. And then in an effort to cheer up, Laura's like, you know what? Come with me. Let's go shopping. Let's go get you feeling better. Coralie is still being salty, and she's being picky about everything. She's not enjoying the moment. And she's talking mad smack about the jewelry that Laura likes for herself. She's just mad because finally the roles are reversed. Like, usually Coralie was taking her shopping, taking care of her, and now Laura is the one taking Coralie shopping and taking care of her. And I'm like so annoyed at this point. I'm like, at this point, Laura, leave this girl behind because she ain't your girlfriend. She's not. So Laura gets home and she finds a bloody t-shirt on her desk, and this was the same bloody t-shirt that she wore the night of her sacrifice. Last she checked, she threw that in the garbage, so why is it on her desk? So she thinks that someone knows about her sacrifice and someone knows about her. So she checks to see if Josephine's phone is still in her room where she hid it, and it is. Then after panicking a little bit, she makes a phone call. Chapter 15, and now Laura and Andor are meeting up to talk, and she still doesn't get an answer on what happened to Josephine. Like, she's still. And then at this point in the book, Laura can't help but feel that Cyro isn't telling the whole truth about what happened to Josephine. Her crush on Andor is getting consistently stronger, and it doesn't help that he is always flirting with her. And this is when Laura asks Andor if he can teach her how to control her powers, and he agrees. And then also Andor invites Laura back to Elysium because that's where they're gonna have Josephine's funeral at. Chapter 16, and we see that the company is getting rid of everything attached to Josephine, including some of her personal belongings. And this is really bothering Laura because no one is taking a minute to stop and grieve and like be compassionate or be humane. Because not too long ago, everyone was saying she's the next star, everyone was praising her, and then she dies, and then they just move on with the quickness like nothing happened. So Laura's headed to Elysium to go to Josephine's vigil, you know, the funeral and stuff. She meets Keturah, the girl that Cyro brought in the catacombs. And Keturah tells Laura how she met Cyro. She's had a lot of different jobs, not really being passionate about either of them or any of them. She's been a bartender, a tattoo artist, and a drummer in a band. And then we find out that Keturah's sacrifice for Acheron was to never feel any pain ever again. And her consequence to that is she can't feel anything. She can't feel heat, she can't feel coldness, she can't feel fear, nothing. So once they get to Elysium, you know, they light a fire and they start reminiscing and remembering Josephine, carrying on her memory, and then they ask Laura to dance for them. Like, just, yeah, dance for us. Josephine would have wanted this way, dance for us. So Laura's dancing and her power starts working some magic and everyone is just zeroed in, totally entranced by her performance. And Laura's starting to feed more into how she feels and what she experiences when the blood of Acheron is flowing through her, and she kind of wants to stay in this, you know, in this mindset. She's liking it. Chapter 17, and Laura has started going to Elysium like every other day, and she's trying to understand more about Acheron and how it works. She's also there to train with Andor and explore like the universe, because it's an alternate universe, why wouldn't you explore it? So she's walking around Elysium where she finds this garden grove that seems to be alive and breathing. She finds out that the garden is actually Andor's, and it's like some kind of labyrinth within Elysium. And she's also learning, you know, the story behind all of Andor's gifts, and that Acheron took a lot from him in order to receive those gifts. And Andor is on some poison ivy shit because he can conjure plants with the flick of his wrist, make them, you know, touch you, go around you. Like, he is basically making the plants do whatever he wants. Then he conjures a little flower crown for Laura, puts it on her head. It's a little cute moment. Girl, he want her. They get into a situation where they both have to use their powers against each other for a minute. It wasn't like anything bad, but it was kind of like a test of strength. And now Laura is being suspicious because she's like, Andor is so much stronger than me, and he could have killed me already, but why hasn't he killed me? And will he? So she's kind of like, okay. Little weird on that. So after leaving Elysium, Laura goes home and she sees that Rosemarie is leaving their apartment. She goes upstairs to find a very upset Coralie, crying, blubbering, losing her mind. And she's trying to comfort her like a good friend, because Laura's a good friend. And Coralie tells Laura that her mom is going to try to get her into another ballet company because the one that they were going to won't take her. And Laura's trying to encourage Coralie to stay, because when she makes it big to like the biggest status that you could go, then that leaves a spot open for the apprenticeship that Coralie can take. And Laura's like, this time let me take care of you. And I am astounded that she still has this compassion for Coralie, because she has treated her like shit since she got that big role. Like, I understand y'all been friends since y'all were like, what, in the first grade, but Coralie is a bitch. And guess what Coralie says? Coralie wants Laura to leave the company and go with her, to give up everything she's worked for and start over with her. My notes say read 194 to 195, so I'm gonna read 194 to 195. Don't give up, Cor. I'm so close to getting promoted, and then an apprenticeship spot will open for you. You won't have to leave. Our foreheads pressed together. I'll take care of you this time. I squeezed her hands. It was all I could say without ruining us, and it pained me like an exposed nerve. Coralie and I experienced every success, failure, hurt, and joy together for years. Even at her most rotten, she was all I had. My best friend, the girl who used to share her lunches while we waited for her parents to pick us up from class. I didn't want to be alone again. In a quiet voice, she said, "Or you can come with me." I didn't move. "Think about it," Coralie reasoned with unnerving calm. "If you quit and come with me, things will go back to the way they were, and I'll take care of you, like it's always been." She observed my silence, my cringing, and cocked her head. Her gaze flicked to the rosebud at my side. "There isn't someone else, right?" "No," I objected, perhaps too quickly, and I meant it no matter the moments I wished otherwise, how ill-advised it would be. The rose crushed easily in my fist. "Good, so what's stopping you?" Like a splash of cold water, all of me was awake, present, hearing, and arching back. Her face warped from forlorn to cunning, the softness of her features rearranging into vicious and serpentine. "You can stop sneaking around late at night to practice. You're obviously overwhelmed and need more time. It'll be fun. We'll find a nice place and get all new stuff in my parents' accounts, and we'll try again at Stuttgart together." As if she weren't asking me to upend my career before it ever really began, I gaped. She couldn't possibly think I would. That I'd even want to go back to obscurity, being forgotten, ignored, powerless. No. Why not? It's not like you have parents to disappoint. They don't care what happens to you. Mine do. When she reached for me, I lurched away, off the table, and back toward my room. I tasted bile. But Coralie's cold gaze still followed me. It's what a real friend would do. The hair on my arm stood on end as I retreated without another word. And at my back, she sneered, "It's not like you ever really fit in with them anyway. I'm all you've got." I have had friends like this. The nerve of you. You disgust me. Coralie really cannot stand her friend surpassing her, and she expected her to like just give everything up. I'm ready for Laura to teach her a lesson at this point, because I'm like, ooh, she needs to be knocked down a peg. So chapter 18, and it's Laura's first show, opening as a quadrille. Quadrille, yes, is that right? I think so. Her ex, Sabine, the one who played Cinderella, she comes up, she's like, "Hey, I wanted to see how you were doing," like all fake. And Laura smelt the bullshit from a mile away, because she's like, "We haven't talked since we've broken up, so what's going on?" And she was right, because Sabine tries to accuse Laura of sleeping with the director to get this role. Because how else could she have gotten it, right? Laura is offended, as she should be, and she read Sabine down to the boots, honey. And she uses her gift to compel her to leave town and never come back. I'm like, oh, get vengeful. I like it. Get vengeful. Come on. So Laura dances. She kills it, as expected, right? So when the show is over, she finds that there are tons of adoring fans waiting for her in the lobby, including her new crew, Cyro, Anzor, and Couture. They posted up like, "Hey, girl. Hi." And they were waiting for her, and they were just giving her the utmost support. It was a really nice moment. And this is good, because Laura's never really had that support before. Like I said, remember in the beginning, her parents never showed up for her. So this is a great turnaround. And all of a sudden, all of their spidey senses go off, like all the group, because they're like, something's not right. But then it leaves as soon as it appears, and they just go about their business. So it's chapter 19, and Laura goes to this bougie ass cast party with the rest of the dancers. And the other dancers are gossiping about what happened to Josephine, and they're being very insensitive about it. And when Laura tries to chime in, they shut her down, and they try to make her go get them drinks, like treating her like a servant, basically. So Laura said, "F all of you." She uses her gift and makes them forget, and she takes all her money. Like, just pockets it for herself. And so as she's leaving, this guy bumps into her, and he doesn't apologize, and it's like, damn, but just can't say excuse me. And it's like, no matter how high and fast Laura's rising through the ranks, they will never see her as their equal. And I'm gonna say this with my chest and loud: go where you are appreciated. And I understand if not you, then who? But it's getting out of hand. Like, your pride is at stake here. So Laura does the same thing that she did to Cyro back in a couple chapters. She made him kneel and started like squeezing the life out of him. But before she can kill him, Cyro appears out of thin air, and she like, you know, he takes her to go cool down, like, "Listen, I do this here, just come with me." Now all of a sudden Laura started to come around on her feelings about Cyro. Maybe he's not a bad guy. Maybe he is really here to help me out and be my friend. It's like, girl, make up your mind. Do you despise him or not? Then Coralie shows up with her crew, and she sees that Laura and Cyro are together. And then this pisses her off, and she goes up to Cyro, and she was like, "Wasn't Josephine enough for you?" And I was like, Coralie, you didn't even like Josephine. You didn't even like your own So it's chapter 20 and Laura comes home to find a letter from America on her desk, and it turns out it's a birthday card from her mom. And we learned that her mother usually sends a birthday card either too early or too late, and this time it's too early. Next chapter, Laura's looking through the files on Josephine's phone, and she finds a video of Josephine doing an experiment. She has Acheron's river contents, the blood, and then she has Leith's river content, the white stuff. And then when she combines her blood with Leith's contents, her blood completely freezes. It freezes solid. But when she tries to combine the Acheron and Leith contents together, an explosion happened. So Laura goes to meet up with her friends since she hasn't seen Cyro since the night before. And this is where she finds out that Cyro hasn't talked to anyone since, he last spoke to the group. So both Andor and Katurah are very worried about him. So they all decide to go over to his place to check on him. Lo and behold, it's the same exact crime scene that we saw at Josephine's apartment. Cyro has been murdered. So Laura tries to put 2 and 2 together, and she thinks that Rosemarie knows about Acheron. So she thinks that Rosemarie, Coralie's mom, she thinks that she's responsible. Chapter 21, and it's the next day. Laura has not slept well because another one of her friends has died. Today, the dancers are rehearsing for another show. I lost count at what they were doing at this point, so I don't even know what the name of this one is. And somehow Coralie found a way for her to weasel back into the dance company as a productions intern. So she's back in the picture now. So when everyone's rehearsing, people are constantly bumping into Laura, stepping on her feet, elbowing her in the ribs and stuff. So she's had enough, and she uses her powers to crack one of the dancers' legs in half. Just like that. And Laura is so far gone, like in Acheron's being, she literally watches as the blood oozes from this dancer's leg. And you know what she does, like not even 5 minutes after the girl is carted off to the hospital, Laura starts dancing her part. Like she just takes her part and starts dancing it. And the director finally acknowledges her and gives her the girl's part that got hurt. So after leaving rehearsal, Laura runs into Katurah, and she is looking for Cyro's office because she needs something from it. Katurah tells Laura how important it is that she gets some rest because she's starting to notice how red her eyes are. And it's not like bloodshot red, like her actual irises, her eye color is now red. They've been going back and forth from brown to red for a while because she was getting used to Acheron's power, but now they have completely stayed red. And after Katurah leaves, Laura turns around to find Coralie standing there. She's always popping up in somebody's business. Like standing there like the fucking Grim Reaper. Chapter 22. Y'all, the beginning of this chapter pissed me off. So Laura comes home to find that Coralie went all out for dinner. She bought food from her favorite Greek restaurant. It's all spread out nice and enticing looking. She's like, yeah, come sit, come eat with me. And Laura automatically knew that Coralie was playing some shit because she was being way too nice. We find out that she's right when Coralie drops the act. It exposes Laura. She's like, I know about you. I know about your tattoo, and I know about your powers. And I'm like, damn, she knows all her tea. So Laura is shocked, and she ends up fessing up like, okay, like, how did you find out? And Coralie knows this because she's been spying on Laura since the night she went out with Josephine. Like, she's been spying on her ever since then. And Coralie tries to blackmail Laura. She's like, quit, leave the company, or I snitch. So Laura said, F all that, and she leaves. And to make matters worse, her dad calls her, and it's just not good timing. She's like, listen, I can't talk to you right now. Like, I got too much going on. So she meets up with Andor in the park, and she tells him what happened. Coralie knows everything. She's on to us. Like, what are we gonna do? And then Andor comforts her. He's like, look, it's gonna be okay. We'll figure this out. And like, he wraps his arms around her. They start breathing heavy and shit and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, is this about to be their first kiss? No, because some random ass lightning bolt comes out of nowhere and like zooms past the both of them. And this lightning rod is going straight for Laura's head, but Andor clocks it and he like steps in front of it and he's injured. He's not dead, but he messed up, y'all. He messed up. And Laura is starting to realize like, hey, this might be the person that killed Cyro and Josephine. But before she can like try and scoop Andor up to safety, they get teleported to the cottage that they live in back in Elysium. Because suddenly Apparently they weren't in the park anymore, and she said her stomach like dropped, so I'm assuming like, you know, she got teleported, which they did. So chapter 23, and it turns out that Andor is the one who actually teleported them. You remember when I said he had a lot of gifts from Acheron? He had like 3 or 4 gifts. Teleportation is one of them. Aside from being beautiful and being a great painter and controlling plants, teleportation is his other gift. So yeah, Andor's entire left eye has been barbecued to all hell. Like listen, he ain't got no eye. Like he's got a silver scar going from the top of his forehead across his eye and then down his shoulder. Like whoever did that, it got him. So as Keturah is patching him up, trying to, you know, stop the bleeding and stitch him up, Lore finally comes to the conclusion and realization that whoever attacked them, they must get their power from Leith, because she remembers the video that she watched of Josephine combining Acheron and Leith together, and it had that same bright explosion of a reaction. So she's like, whoever is coming after us is the disciple of Leith, so we need to stay away from them. We need to get them off our back. And she also knows this because the scars aren't healing me. So people who have taken in the gifts of Acheron, they have the power of healing. We saw that when the next morning after Lore's first sacrifice, her scar on her hand where she cut herself, it was gone. But Andor's scar, it's not healing. Like, he's messed up bad. So Leith, that's like the one person that can like off them, okay? Sorry, the one entity that can kill them, excuse me, not person, it's an entity. So Keturah and Lore make a plan to go find Leith's altar and kind of like, you know, find out where the core is and stuff. The next day, it's rehearsal for another production. They're doing a lot of productions at this point. I don't know, I lost track. And Lore shows up to practice late, and she has never been late a day in her life. The dance instructor calls her out on this, and Lore tries to like buck up against it. She's like, listen, I don't have to explain myself to you. I had a little bit of a rough night, whatever. And that she was bucking up against the instructor until she was threatened to be replaced with Coralie, who doesn't even dance there anymore, mind you. And after rehearsal, Coralie's trying to get a rise out of Lore again, threatening to snitch. So Lore had enough, and she grabs Coralie by the wrist, and like she kind of lets her monstrous form come through a little bit. She sprouts talons, and she's like, don't ever threaten me again. And I was like, yes, tell her, tell her. So they're talking, and President Auger is reminding Lore of all the prolific dancers that they've lost as of recently. And this is where we find out that Lore has an offer from the ballet company to take the leading place in the dance corps, but it's only temporary until they find someone else to like rise up through the ranks. Which I don't understand. Like, if Lore's a good dancer, why not just keep her there? But President Auger takes a jab at her. She's like, you know, once the contract is over, you have the luxury of like exploring the world and going to different dance companies. Basically saying to her that she doesn't want Lore to come back. And Lore's just kind of beside herself like, fuck? Oh, okay. Chapter 24, and we see Lore on a walk, and she's kind of considering leaving Paris. That way she won't have to deal with Andor, Keturah, or Coralie trying to blackmail her every 2 seconds. And then she'll also be away from Acheron. So she goes to the Garden Labyrinth in Elysium, you know, where Andor takes his sanctuary, and he's kind of in his monstrous form when she gets there. And he's asking her like, okay, so what are we gonna do about Coralie? And she lies and tells him that everything is under control. She tries to check in on him to see how he's doing, and he's dancing around the question. He really doesn't want to talk about it because he's missing a freaking eye. So Andor takes her to the center of the labyrinth, and this is where he reveals all of the paintings that he has of Lore. Andor is asking Lore what she really wants. Things start to get a little heavy and everything, and they start making out, right? And Andor is like flashing between his human form and his monstrous form. I was like, what is happening? So they started getting into it, and Lore accidentally bites him, and she wants to lick the blood from his mouth. He's like, do it. I said, oh! I said, they are freaky. And they was getting somewhere until Keturah rounds the corner. She's like, okay, are we still going to Leith's off altar or what? Like, are we going or not? And as Lore's getting up to leave, she starts to feel a little woozy. This is where we find out that Andor is poisonous. So when I made that poison ivy joke a while back, that has some truth to it, because his kiss or him in general, he is poisonous. So Lore is running away from both Keturah and Andor. She needs to clear her mind, and then she's back up in the catacombs, and then she senses that she's not alone, and then something knocks her out. Dun dun dun. So chapter 25, and Lore wakes up in this nasty ass cave, and you'll never believe who has her. Coralie. Coralie tries to escape, but remember that white lightning bolt that I talked about that attacked her and Andor? It grabs her by the wrists, and then the other wrist, and then both ankles. This is where the big reveal happens. We find out that Coralie is the disciple of Leve, and she is the one responsible for killing Josephine and Cyril. She wanted Acheron to take her. She wanted to be a disciple of Acheron, but Acheron rejected her. Acheron only accepts sacrifices of people who are worthy and who can fulfill their, you know, their gifts. She said that Acheron even laughed at her. This blood god laughed at her because she wasn't good enough to take in on their gifts. So she went to Leve instead, just to one-up Lore. And she's still salty that Lore got the apprenticeship over her, and Coralie is claiming that she was a shoo-in when really, no, you weren't. Lore tries to reason with her, but Coralie starts to fry her, cook her up, barbecue her, right? Just like she did Cyril and Josephine. And as she's dying, Coralie is trying to squeeze out information on where Keturah and Andor are hiding, but Lore ain't letting up. She's not snitching, like, no how, no way. And Lore lays there kind of dying, thinking how all of this was for nothing. Chapter 26, plot twist, she's not dead, she's in the hospital. Keturah and Andor rescued her, and Coralie is wondering if Coralie is still out there, you know, where she is. And it's official, she no longer has her powers because the mark, the tattoo on the inside of the wrist, it has been burned off. So she doesn't have her powers anymore. So Keturah has vowed to keep an eye on her and take care of her because she has been totally reckless up until this point. And after being very deep in thought and going over her options, Lore decides to quit the ballet and to never dance again. She's tired, she's drained, she's over it. She is so unhappy for the fact that she broke her body for the one thing that she loved and she didn't get that love back. So she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna stop. I'm quitting, I'm done. Chapter 27, not much happens in this chapter. Lore and Andor make up, they go to the Blood River together. Lore asks for her gift back from Acheron, and he gives her 3 years this time instead of 3 months. And the next step for Lore is to enact her revenge on Coralie. Chapter 28, and Lore goes back to the opera to collect her things. But first she goes to President Augier's office. She tells President Augier that she's leaving the company, that she's done with dance. And President Augier kind of drops that nice professional facade and starts taking constant jabs at Lore. Talking about, I thought you were stronger than that. You were good. We already found your replacement anyway. So after keeping her cool for so long, Lore finally goes off. Thank goodness. She rants about how she bent over backwards for the company, which she has, and she still ain't got no respect. Like, y'all have stayed disrespecting me for all these years, and after all I've done for y'all. So she lets her claws come out, literally, a little bit, and she scares President Augier. And with that, she leaves her office and she starts packing up her things before security has the chance to. And as she's leaving, she runs into her father, who is waiting outside, and he's trying to see the show. And she's like, well, you know, there's no point in doing that because I'm not dancing anymore. She's like, I want to go travel, I want to take a break. And he's like, well, maybe when you get back we can catch up. How does that sound? She's like, okay. Chapter 29, so now Laura's going to the theater to say her final goodbyes to the stage and then go on with her life. And so when she shows up there, she thought the theater was going to be empty, but the whole cast of this production is there. They're on stage rehearsing. And guess who was on stage dancing her part? Coralie. Ooh, I wanted to chuck this book across the room so hard. Oh my gosh, I was pissed. I'm like, oh. And Laura's pissed, as she should be, because rather than her being replaced with someone who actually had talent, they replaced her with Coralie. Like, ugh. So Laura uses her gift and compels everybody to leave, so it's just her and Coralie. She confronts them, they talking back and forth, woo, 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 until she finally had enough. So she lunges at this girl and they are fighting. Like, they're over here rolling on the floor, they're tussling. And then by the end of it, Coralie gets the upper hand and Coralie's like, you took everything from me, this is supposed to be mine. And I'm like, girl, no, it was never yours, like, because you were not that good. You weren't good, period. So Coralie then drags Laura by her hair out to the front of the house, in front of everybody, in front of like literally everyone, right? She's like, you want an audience so bad, here you go. I'm like, oh, hell no. And even Coralie's mom is like terrified. She's like, what have you done? So Coralie's got Laura by the collar, right? She's like, you know, fight back, fight. And Laura's like, you know what? I'm not giving you what you want. No, I'm not gonna fight back. So Coralie is getting so angry to the point where Leave is literally breaking her body, and her body is cracking and the power is seeping through her. And this reaction causes the whole building to shake, right? It's like an earthquake. And so this chapter ends with the whole building tumbling down. Chapter 30. So as the building is collapsing and Laura and Coralie are falling through the floors, they end up at this pit at the bottom with the lake. They fight some more. Laura lets her monstrous form take over. But now Laura gets the upper hand. She uses her powers to make Coralie go to sleep. And she lets her sink to the bottom of the lake. When I say sleep, I'm like sleep permanently. Like she's like, she literally said, go to sleep and dream of something beautiful. And like with that, she just kind of like floated away down to the bottom. So when Laura comes up out of the water, she finds that all of the survivors from the building collapsing, they're like looking at her as if she's responsible for this. Like they didn't just see Coralie beating her up in front of everybody. So she gets pissed and she makes them literally bow on their knees to her. Like, I saved your asses. Y'all should be thanking me. And that's when suddenly Laura realizes that Coralie left her a little parting gift. Coralie stabbed her in the chest with a piece of glass, like over here somewhere, like not like in the heart, but like in the chest, right before she died. And I was like, oh my God, like how many times do we have to go through this? And she's bleeding out fast. And she's had near-death experiences this whole book, but I'm thinking Laura's not gonna make it this time. So Katora and Andor are running to rescue her, but then she loses consciousness. We think she's dead. Turns out she's not. She wakes up back in Elysium. She's healing. She's doing the best she can. And then Laura offers Acheron the last thing that she has to give. Her soul. And instead of having a monstrous form that she can trans into, she now shares a body. She shares her body with Acheron's entity. So she has two consciousnesses. She has two consciousnesses. You know what I'm talking about. She has two entities in one body, okay? So she becomes one with Elysium, and then she becomes one with Acheron, and then she gets to spend time with the people she loves the most, Katora and Andor. And that's the end. Until the epilogue. So now it is after the events of what happened. It is Laura's 18th birthday, and Katora and Andor take her to Prague to see this little show. It's like a burlesque variety show in the middle of a garden. So she has a good time and she's happy, and they're leaving the show and they run into this young girl because they see that she's trying to pickpocket Andor's watch. And so automatically Laura sees something in this girl and she's like, what's your name? Like, you know, like who is you? What's your name? So the security from the club comes to grab the girl and Laura's like, let her go. And she's like, what's your name? And so I don't know how to pronounce this, but this is the girl's name. And Laura takes her to the side and she's like, let me talk to you for a second, for real quick. And Laura tells the girl, she's like, I have a proposition for you. If you don't like it, you can leave. And the girl's like, okay. And the story ends with Laura saying, let me tell you about my friend Acheron. In the end, that's the story. I said, okay, that ending ate. So that was I Feed Her to the Beast, and the beast is me. But before we get to my favorite part of the video, I really want to talk about some commentary that I plucked from the story. So obviously, classism is a huge chunk that comes from this. You know, we see that the rich in this story, at least the upper class, treats everything and everyone as disposable. You know, there's a problem, throw some money at it. You want this, bribe the head person in charge, you know? And we see how their role affects Laura, being that, you know, she grew up lower class and she had to fight for everything that she got, even steal. Also, I noticed that status is very important to them, you know, money, fame, that is like what makes or breaks you, especially when you're doing something as, you know, fulfilling and important and hard as ballet. Race is also an obvious conversation here as well. I said that from the beginning, Laura being black literally has its part in this story. Like it's going to affect her. I remember back when I was reading this last month, my For You page was listening to me, and a TikTok video came up about a black ballerina, and she was curing her shoes and breaking them in, and then she said something about them. She said something, one day we'll have shoes that aren't just European pink. That's like literally the color of the point shoes. It's called European pink. If that's not openly racist, I don't know what is. And that stood out to me because it shows me even after all this time, you know, there's still not spaces in recognition for brown and black dancers in the ballet world. And I see that Laura's race plays a big part in this because, you know, the stereotypes and the constant disregard and disrespect caused her to work twice as hard as her peers, so she could be revered as someone to look at. And her race was kind of, it wasn't holding her back, but that was one of her biggest roadblocks, is to try to get them to see past her skin color and look at my talent, don't look at my skin color, look at what I can do on the stage. Because even if she slacked off a little bit and she ended up doing that, they came with the macro, not even micro, they came at her with the macro aggressions, and they put that stereotype on her the minute she started to falter. Yeah, there's also a lot of other commentary pieces that I can get into, like, you know, power, use of power, abuse of power, and then friendships, but we've been here long enough. So it's my favorite part of the video. We're going to do a dream cast. Now, I always say, if the book is good, I can see it playing out in my head like a movie. And this would make a very interesting movie. So to play the part of Laura, I had to do some thinking because I was like, I don't know. And here's the cool thing about this book. Most of these characters, like the main characters, are black. Laura's black. Katura is black. She's literally depicted to have like very dark skin. Andor is black, who also has very dark skin. And I'm like, this is cool. I like this. This is fun. So for Laura, I would choose either Rielle Downs. You know her. She played Charlotte in Harry Danger, but I haven't seen her in anything since that because I was a kid. or Tamika Griffiths from Ginny and Georgia. Brycia from Ginny and Georgia. I feel like either one of them could really embody that role of being broken down and then coming into that power. I can see either one of them doing that. For the role of Josephine, I would choose Margaret Qualley. She just fits the description best for Josephine, because I really couldn't think of anyone who is young and could play this part, because I know a lot of well-known actresses who could do it, but they're a little past their prime. Not past their prime, but they're a little older. No shade, no ageism over here, just, you know, these are young people like 17, 18, 19. You gotta kind of give that to reality. You can't have somebody 40 playing a teenager. I mean, you can, but So for Andor, ooh, this one was fun to pick. Either or could go in this role, and I would, ooh, they're just so handsome. Sorry. I would like to see either Damson Idris. Yes, I know. I'm good. Or Keita Williams-Sterling from Sex Education. They both match the description of Andor so well, and I feel like they can give off that soft, compassionate, artsy vibe that he has. He's like a little nymph that just, you know, la la la, kind of, sort of, but he also has that very strong and masculine element to him too, especially when he transforms into his like monstrous form. Either one of these men would work just fine with me. They're both very beautiful. Now for Coralie, I couldn't think of any actresses for this one because, like, I don't want to keep using the same blonde actresses because Coralie is depicted to be white and blonde. And I was like, so I think Emma Myers from Wednesday, the girl who plays Enid, I think she would do great. I feel like she can go with that spoiled brat vibe, that evil, you know, I feel like she can do it. I would like to see her do it. But I was about to choose someone that we already know and has all this exposure. Like, let's choose somebody else. So I'm going with Emma, okay? And then for Katura, I think that Arsema Thomas from Queen Charlotte, who played young Lady Danbury, would be excellent. I feel like she could give off that vibe. And she did so well with her British accent in the show. She could do it again for Couture, because Couture is also British. And the skin is sitting. Like, look at this woman. She's beautiful. And she's young enough to pass for Couture's age. So there's that. And then for Cyro, I think Tom Blythe would be excellent. He kind of gives up that stoic, you know, bougie vibe, and I think that came from him playing Snow in the new Hunger Games movie. But he's already British too, so that'll work. I think Cyro is British. I think he is. If he's not, oh well, let's make him British. And he always wears white. Like, his signature color is white, crisp suits. So yeah, put him back in that color. And Tom Blythe for Cyro. So yeah, that is my dream cast for I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me. If I had to rate this book overall, I would give it a 7 out of 10. And I only say that because it was very interesting premise, but it took me a while to get through this. I think I'm still in a reading slump from Blind Tiger. Oh, that reminds me. So I read a book before this, right? It was called Blind Tiger by Sandra Brown. And I tried to do a reading Rouge on that, y'all, and it just wasn't working. Because the book, it didn't grasp me like I wanted it to grasp me, you know? I just filmed an entire reading Rouge, and then I got damn near to the end of the video and realized I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm so mad. I just wasted an hour of my time. And I didn't have to. I was trying hard because, like, so if you don't watch my YouTube, I do this thing called Reading Rouge. I put on makeup rouge while I talk about a book and give a book review, read. And this book that I read, like, if y'all are on my bookworm story, y'all know I've been reading Blind Tiger for a while now. It's this right here. The book is not bad. Like, I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It was a slow burn, and your girl don't like slow burns. And I didn't connect with the characters that much. I didn't, like, you know, connect with the book that much. And I sat here for an hour really trying to hype up this book. And I was like, you know what? No, I can't. So did I waste product? Absolutely. I just wiped off my lips. I'm about to wipe off my whole face because I wasted an hour of my time over a book that was okay at best. I'm gonna go. As I was saying, I think that book put me in a reading slump. And so this was the book that I read right after Blind Tiger. And this wasn't the book to get me out of the slump. So I'm just like looking for another book in my personal library that will get me out of the slump. Nothing against the writer. I just think at this point in time, for me, it's a 7 out of 10. But it's a very interesting story, and I love it. And I love the representation in it. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was it. This is the look. I did some blue. Yeah. So that concludes our video for today. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. And if you made it to the end of the video, what do I want you to comment? Comment something red. Just comment a red emoji. And have a day. And subscribe if you want to. I'll see y'all on the next go round. Okay, bye.